Hello, Raider Nation, and welcome to the Believe in Raiders podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm Dennis Ackerman, pleased to be joined by former Raider great Stanford Route. Stan, the Raiders introduced new head coach Klint Kubiak today, and there certainly were a lot of former great Raiders at that introductory press conference. What did you think of it, Stan? What did you take away from it? Let me begin there.
Oh, just number one takeaway to me is obviously you can see that the Raiders are trying to go younger. They're trying to go innovative. They're trying to go against the grain of having a Pete Carroll who's an older veteran, somebody obviously who's has a lot of skins on the wall versus also an Antonio Pierce, Josh McDaniels who's been in like 11 Super Bowls or however many that it is. Seem like that they're trying to go with the younger, fresher, innovative, creative type of offensive mind versus the older guy who's been proven, got a lot of tread on the tires, things like that. So I definitely cannot in any way poo-poo this decision by the Raiders to go ahead and hire Klint Kubiak.
No, I mean, it comes just 2 days after he won the Super Bowl, as you talked about with the Seattle Seahawks knocking off the New England Patriots 29-13 right here in the Bay Area. Stan, I want to begin with something Kubiak said, and I thought this was interesting, and you immediately popped into my mind because he said this. He goes, I love earning people's trust, and I've got to earn these guys, meaning his players. Yeah. Stan, you played for a lot of head coaches in your 8-year tenure with the Silver and Black. So let me ask you this. How long does an NFL locker room give a new head coach before they know this guy is either the real deal or his ass ain't going to be here very long?
Oh, man. When you ask how long, you talk about how many days, how many hours, how many practices?
Whatever, Stan. When you, like I said, you knew when you were playing for the Raiders and you were on another head coach, Tom Cable, whoever it might be at that time, Lane Kiffin. Give me a time frame when you knew this guy might stick around for longer than a year with the old Al Davis regime, or you know what, he might not even last a season.
Because obviously new coaches come in January or February, depending on how things are slated with who they hire.
Sure.
You don't meet that head coach till probably April. When OTAs and all that starts. It probably takes maybe about a day, maybe 2. Usually, probably within the first team meeting, you can kind of tell just the energy, the vibe, the way they talk to the players, the interaction they have with the players. And yeah, I can see the look on your face. It doesn't take long. And this is why I say this.
Okay.
Because the thing that makes sports so great, especially NFL, NBA, where think about college.
Yep.
It's not as much of a slanted dynamic as it once was, because now you have NIL, now you have transfer portal, things like that. But in college, hey, if you don't do this the right way, if you don't do what I say, I'll pull your scholarship.
Right.
I can potentially maybe even pull your NIL money. We'll see in the NFL, NBA, you got guys up there that are making more money than you.
Yes.
Easily making more money than you. Their contract isn't fully guaranteed NFL, but there's a certain number that they have that's guaranteed. So now you can't use fear on them. They got to follow you just because they just simply trust you. They just simply think that, you know what, his direction is the best way to go, which means they have to simply believe in you as a leader. And that's why I say you'll have guys. I'm not saying Klint Kubiak did this, but you'll have guys, and I'll even use the Nick Saban. You'll have guys that will come in that start giving you that more of a college talk where they're coming at you like, oh yeah, you better do what I say just because I'm the head coach. And that's not gonna jive with the players at all, just because you're coming in here now like a dictator. And in the NFL, same as the NBA, it is a partnership. Like we're partners, because guess what? If I don't play well, you're going to get fired. Just like if Maxx Crosby and a head coach, I'm not saying anything about him and Klint Kubiak. This is nothing. I'm just using Maxx Crosby because he's the marquee player on the Raiders.
Yes.
I'm not intimating anything, so nobody get the wrong idea. But when you have a star player like a Myles Garrett with the Cleveland Browns, a Maxx Crosby with the Raiders, a star quarterback on whatever team, anytime you have that type of situation with a star player and him and the head coach don't get along, who you think gonna leave?
Oh, the head coach.
Exactly. See what I'm saying? In college, it's different. The head coach is going to stay. Players going to wind up leaving. So that's why I know when you looked at me like, oh, my God, it takes a day or two. Yes, it really does not take that long, just because the way he's talking, what he's saying, the energy that he's bringing, you can immediately sniff it out right away if somebody is authentic, if somebody is faking it. I can tell you this. I wasn't there. I'm just going off what was told to me. I wasn't there. Just going off what was told to me, like when Josh McDaniels came in. Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys have done this. A lot of the Bill Belichick disciples, they come in and they try to embody the Bill Belichick type of mantra, that type of mindset. And it's like, that only works in New England with Bill Belichick. Like, you can't duplicate that or replicate that in any way. And immediately when guys come in with that type of mindset, that type of ideology, and that type of energy, players can sniff that out right away. I remember guy that I worked with this a couple years ago, who actually was a part of the Miami Dolphins back in like 05, 06 in that era. He told me this. He said, literally, one of the star players on the Miami Dolphins at the time, I don't want to give any names because I don't want to try to throw anybody under the bus, but
sure.
He said him and another guy damn near escorted Nick Saban out of the building.
Wow.
Just because, like, immediately, as soon as he came in, they immediately know, he ain't it. Just because of the way that he's talking. Now, Nick Saban, fantastic head coach. We know probably the best ever in college football.
Yes.
I don't even know how many titles he won because that's how great he is. But you can't use the same method that you use to get your players hyped up and motivated in college as the NFL. You can't do that. And I think for a lot of guys, that's the difference. So to your original question, that's why it doesn't take long.
All right, Stan. It seems like every time the Raiders have a new coach, they always like to have all the old Raiders come in. Yeah. There was Howie Long there today. Marcus Allen was there today. Rich Gannon, Jim Plunkett. They bring out the 3 Super Bowl trophies. But Stan, the Raiders haven't been relevant since 2002. Is that fair?
Yes. Okay. Sadly, that's fair.
It is. I know we always talk about winning the press conference, and when I watched Klint Kubiak today, he didn't blow me away. He did not blow me away. He seemed pretty even keeled, no nonsense. Hey, I'm gonna watch the tape. I'm gonna be a silent tape. That's what he said. I'm gonna watch a silent tape. How important is it to win the press conference, Stan? Is it at all anymore? They used to talk about it all the time. Is it still important in your opinion?
For you guys in the media, but other than that, as far as the player, you don't give a damn. Because I say this right here, right now, and let's think of a Brock Bauer. Let's think of a Geno Smith.
Yep.
Let's think of a Maxx Crosby. Let's think of a Ashton Jeanty. Let's think of a Colt Miller. Let's think of everybody that's on the Raiders right now. Today is February 10th.
Yes.
DA, Super Bowl was just 2 days ago.
I know.
I'm willing to bet you at least a third, probably more, but I want to be conservative. At least a third of the Las Vegas Raiders are probably not even in the country right now. So do you really think that they logged into YouTube or went and got on Google and looked at that damn press conference? No, they didn't. Because what does what he says in February have to do with him helping me become a better player in September? So to your question, no, it does not fucking matter at all. Okay. Obviously, for the media, yes. You want to say certain trigger words to kind of get everybody up and, happy and excited. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't mean anything. And I say all that because just like as a player, you're in the film room watching film at 9:00 when some of the coaches are already going home to go see their families, and the head coach walks by you in the linebackers room still getting extra film in and stuff like that. And he's like, oh man, okay, you know what? Stafford Rouse really over there like working hard. And like he's really putting in the work. And then guess what? I go out there in the game and play below average.
Right.
So clearly me watching film, that didn't really fucking matter. So it will be great winning the press conference if you then win some games.
Right.
But if you don't in September, October, November, December, nobody gives a damn because it's just the press conference. So it's one of those things that it only can become a big deal if you back it up with your performances and your production. Otherwise, nobody's going to give you a pass. That press conference ain't going to save you from getting fired after your first year if you go out there and put the same product out there that you saw with a Pete Carroll. Understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I get it from a media perspective. Everybody wants to evaluate everything about an incoming head coach. I understand that, but from a player, it doesn't matter. A lot of the players will never even see the press conference.
All right, fair enough. All right, Stan, let me ask you this. I'm watching the Super Bowl on Sunday like we all are, and Seahawks are playing old-fashioned smash-mouth football. We're going to run the football.
Yeah.
Our quarterback is not going to make a mistake, and our defense is going to dominate you, right?
Yeah.
Klint Kubiak has said he is going to be the offensive play caller for the Raiders, at least in season 1. He has coached some great running backs already, Stan. Alvin Kamara, beg your pardon, from the Saints. Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers. And then we just saw Kenneth Walker, the MVP for the Seattle Seahawks on the Super Bowl. He talked about Ashton Jeanty, who he's now inheriting, who's going to be in his second year, who didn't get to show what he really truly was because the Raiders' offensive line was so bad. And Klint Kubiak did say we need to get the offensive line correct. He said, but we also have to have everybody blocking. That includes tight ends and wide receivers. Stan, let me ask you this. When you look back at the Super Bowl, do you think that gave us a little bit of a glimpse of what Klint Kubiak hopes, and I'm saying hopes, the Raiders offense looks like in 2026 with Ashton Jeanty being the feature of that offense and perhaps Fernando Mendoza playing quarterback, and I don't want to say game manager, but just not turning the ball over?
Yeah, because, I mean, the Seattle Seahawks didn't turn the ball over, I don't think, one time the entire playoff run.
They did not.
I think utopically, I think ideally, that's what you would want to see out of the Raiders coming into this year, a blueprint of what the Seattle Seahawks just produced 48 hours ago. Yes, ideally. But does that mean that Sam Darnold's going to come over? Does that mean that Kenneth Walker III is going to come over? Does that mean that Charbonnet, obviously, he didn't play in the Super Bowl. He got hurt in the playoffs, but a fine running back. Does that mean the entire offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks is coming over? No. You're just simply having the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, now the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, Klint Kubiak, he's coming over. So I think ideally, yes, that's what you could see within the Raiders, but you're going to still have to go ahead, practice. You're going to go ahead and have to build the chemistry. You're going to have to make sure that you're a cohesive unit. You're going to have everybody on the same page. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. I think over time, you can go ahead and morph this team into that. But if you're not going to also bring the same personnel, I think it would be unwise for a fan to immediately expect the Raiders to, at the drop of a dime, almost kind of like a night and day type of situation, become what you just saw with the Seahawks this past season, especially in this playoff run.
Stan, let me ask you this. 8 years in the NFL as a defensive back. Do you like shootouts 55-45 or as a defensive guy? I know you don't like 10-7, but 24-17, 24-21. Which type of game do you prefer?
Watching or playing? Both. I'd say as a player, probably more of a shootout, just because that means that there's being more passes, which means that gives me more opportunities to go get an interception, get my hands on the ball.
I like that.
As far as watching the game, I probably am more of a Denver Broncos versus Patriots AFC title game, defensive struggle. I really thoroughly enjoyed the game on Sunday. You had the Patriots playing pretty good defense for most of the game. Obviously, they weren't able to hang on because the offense wasn't doing anything once you get to the late third, fourth quarter. But for much of the game, both defenses were playing well. So watching as a spectator, probably more so a defensive struggle, or should I say a low-scoring game. As a player, probably a shootout, because that means it's action-packed, means it's a lot of fun. Ball's going to be in the air, which gives me more opportunities to make plays on it.
All right, Stan. One of the biggest questions for the Raiders now that we've entered the offseason is the future of Maxx Crosby. So many questions. We heard Jay Glazer from Fox Sports come out and say he thinks Crosby's played his last down with the Raiders. Maxx Crosby was on the Colin Cowherd show.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay. Klint Kubiak said he spoke with Crosby Tuesday morning. We're taping this on Tuesday night. He said he did speak to Maxx Crosby, who was in the building. He didn't attend the press conference, but he was in the building.
Oh, look at that. He didn't attend the press conference. What a crazy thing that a player didn't attend a press conference from a head coach. I told you, man, players don't care about that.
Right. So Crosby, here's what he said in the Colin Cowherd show, and I want to make sure that I get this right. He said, all I care about is getting healthy. That's all I care about. So all the noise, everything that's being rumored about me, it's all news to me. But Stan, he hasn't really come out publicly and said, I don't want to be traded. He hasn't come out and said that now. He's saying, okay, I'm not speaking, but I'm going to let all the noise be all the noise. I mean, obviously Crosby was not pleased about being placed on IR, not playing the last two games. Stan, he's the heart and soul of this team. He has been through the thick and mostly the thin with this franchise.
It's 2019.
It's the sixth head coach since they relocated to Vegas. The sixth head coach since they relocated to Vegas. Dan, let me ask you this.
Oh, wow.
Yep. See, I know. Look at your reaction. Exactly. So, do you think Crosby is a Raider next year? Gut feeling.
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I don't know that answer, but not for the reason that you think.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that. I simply don't know. Now, do I think it's because of this latest report by Jay Glazer? No, I don't, because that's the only place I've even seen, heard anything. Like, we ain't heard no rumblings, no rumors, whispers. We haven't heard anything. So I would like to know, like, where Jay Glazer got this from. Like, did you get this from Max? Did you get this from somebody close to him, his agent? Like, because I feel like Maxx Crosby's a no-nonsense type of guy.
I would agree.
I feel like he probably would, on some level, intimate that himself. In some level, whether it's an Instagram post, whether it was him on the herd, something. I feel like he would give some version. Even he's got his own podcast. What's called The Rush. Like, I feel like he would give some sort of breadcrumb or clue into his future being uncertain next year in 2026. So when you ask that question, what's his future hold for him and the Raiders? It could very well be a situation where the Raiders go and trade him just to go and get more picks, just to go and get more assets to go ahead and build this team, because we clearly saw this past season that Pete Carroll thought that the Raiders were a few players away from being a 10-win team. Spytech obviously thought it was more of a rebuild type of situation. Well, Pete Carroll's gone. You now have Spytech still there. They just got Klint Kubiak, just got the press conference, just signed yesterday, and all of that just landed in Las Vegas. So with Spytech thinking that this is a rebuild situation, this takes me back to the Dallas Cowboys with Herschel Walker and the Minnesota Vikings, and a situation with the New York Jets last year with a Quinnen Williams and a Sauce Gardner. Let's go ahead, trade away our best players, get some picks, acquire some assets. That way we can go ahead and build this roster back up. So that's why I say I don't know. You could very well see Maxx Crosby being traded because the Raiders want to go ahead and try to build the team, not because Maxx Crosby is demanding out, like what Jay Glazer is reporting. I'm not saying that any sort of dispersion, casting any dispersion or anything disparaging about Jay Glazer and his ability to be a reporter and an insider. I'm just simply saying I haven't seen, heard anything of that matter. So it makes me wonder, how valid is it? Because Maxx Crosby hasn't said anything, but who knows? I'm just speculating, just like you are. But all in all, I don't know. I think your guess is as good as mine, just because the Raiders could very well trade him just to get picks and assets.
Yeah, and I do think you need to listen to offers, especially. I mean, I don't think the Raiders could get in return what Green Bay got for Micah Parsons, and this is what Dallas, beg your pardon, what they gave up. The Packers gave up 2 first-round picks in 2026 as well as 2027, plus veteran defensive tackle Kenny Clark. Yep. Crosby's coming off a 15-game season because obviously he didn't play the last 2 games. So I'm going to say 15-game season, 73 tackles, including 10 for loss and 10 sacks. Stan, let me ask you this. Parsons got, Dallas got that in return for Micah. I don't think the Raiders could get that for Maxx Crosby, but if they got a pick and a player, you got to listen, don't you?
Yeah, you definitely. I don't know if it's something that they're immensely leaning towards right now, but I think that it's definitely something that you'll at least listen, or should I say pick up thinking. Now, exactly how much you're going to dive into it, how much you're really going to entertain it, that remains to be seen. But yes, you definitely have to go ahead and at least take the phone call.
Well, we'll see what happens next. Free agency stand in March. And then we've got the draft in April. And then before we know it, it's May and it's mini camp time. So it's supposed to be the offseason, Stan, but the NFL never sleeps, man. I mean, it just doesn't give these other sports any months. As an
NFL fan, you have there's just 2 seasons. You have the season, and then you're waiting for next season. Like that's literally the two mindsets that all football fans are in.
And they do a great job, like I said, with free agency, the draft, and the schedule release, and then mini camps, man, they do a great job of just throwing you out little nibbles each
Mhm.
month just to keep, just to whet your appetite, whet your appetite, whet your appetite.
Absolutely.
But the Raiders have a new head coach, Klint Kubiak, and the season gets underway in about 8 months. So we've got some time to digest a lot with him and the rest of the Raiders over the next few months. All right, Raider Nation, that's going to do it for another edition of the Believe in Raiders podcast presented by FanDuel. For my partner, Stanford Route, I'm Dennis Ackerman. Thanks so much for listening, and may all your punts find the coffin corner.